AI could accelerate this job
Well,
loss
it
situation.
will accelerate. It not could. It will 1,000%. But people are just starting to figure it out, right?
Mm.
They don't know exactly where to apply. Now, some people have really embraced this, obviously, but I would say the majority of employers are starting to roll this out. I know people now that have appointed people in their company that are in charge of AI, and they're just now. This is all new. Yeah, I would say this is in the first few innings. That's where we are. This is going to be a very, very different next year and the year after. I think you're going to start to see absolute certain functions are going to be very, very commonly AI instead of like customer service is a great example. That's a really, really, really good example of doubt. You can easily replace that job with an AI function, right?
Mhm.
Or a virtual
Like how
assistant.
many customer service and virtual assistant positions are, right? I mean, that
Right.
would take it up
Right.
probably right
Oh,
there.
actually that's a really good analogy. So let's take a look at when you and I started using virtual assistants. Was it 5, 6 years ago? Okay. Before the curve, right? Like you and we have some people from the Philippines, we have some people from London, we have some people from Thailand, some people from Mexico. We've had them do different things. Certainly with our YouTube channel and the stuff we do here, we have editors and thumbnail people and people that are doing all kinds of graphics and things like that. And we get banged every day. Okay. That was not the case 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago. We actually have to seek this out, remember?
Mhm.
Okay, now it's more commonplace. Now it's commonplace. I'm getting stuff in my LinkedIn for VAs all the time. And before we were having to look for it. So now that's become a crowded space. Now that's becoming more commonplace. AI is going to roll out the same way. That's my belief. These are slow moving things that eventually, and when I went to that YPO conference in LA recently, it was there were several companies that were saying, we'll come into your company and teach you how to apply AI to your business. And we're looking at that. We hired a consultant for that. So, the thing is, you got these old people, call them old, anybody that's over 40, that don't know how,
Mhm.
right? And they're busy. They're at capacity, a lot of them. Certainly my accounting department is at capacity, right? The last thing they're going to do is, you know what? I'm going to figure out how AI can, make us more efficient and reduce my staff. Like that's just not going to happen. Has to come from leadership. Leadership's busy. And what it does is it rolls out slowly. And so, yes, it will affect unemployment, but it's not going to be a correction like from 4.5 to 6 at all.
So let's talk about if unemployment were to go up, like how that would affect essentially the economy. Because I think a lot of people, haven't really been through any kind of slowing down or recessionary time. Even if we don't go into a recession, we are in a much slower economy than we have been since 2021.
Oh yeah, yeah. Things are very, very different. Of course, I think you're gonna. Well, the first thing is wage growth slows way down,
Hmm.
right? And what happens? The people go on some kind of assistance. Hopefully, they can get those kinds of things. So you're going to start to see that, and y- you know the discretionary spending stops, right? So all the low hanging fruit stuff stops. What doesn't stop is rent, transportation, the food, those basic things, right? And those don't stop. But a lot of other things stop. I mean, think about when you've been personally through some kind of hard time. What did you cut back on?
Right. Yeah. You cut out all the different things that you.
Yeah, that's what happened.
But at the same time, though, a lot of people argue that with rents, you can't do rent increases if people are on a tight budget. Like there is a cap of
Well,
that.
trust me, if the tenant could command what they wanted to pay in rent, they would. They
Hmm.
can't. It's not in their hands.
Hmm.
What rents are governed by supply and choices,
Hmm.
not by a tenant. The
Right.
tenant moves where they need to, but rents.
Or get a roommate if they
But
need
if
to.
a
Or
tenant loses a job, the landlord doesn't go, "Oh, I'm going to lower our rent for you." That's not how that works.
Mhm.
So, it's if the market, if the property is full and it's experiencing rent growth, it's a result of the supply in the market. It's a result of low interest rates, perhaps. It's whatever, and as you start to add more supply, like right now is a renter's market, and why is that? It's because we added over 500,000 units last year in 2025 that hit all over the country. And that added supply gave tenants more choices. And so rents are flat and there's also concessions. But unemployment, and now, by the way, it 100% affects where an investor should buy,
Mhm.
right? It will affect Airbnb.
Yeah.
It will affect high end for sure, class A, right? So all of that stuff. So if it persists, if it goes up to 6, a developer that's going to build class A apartments might look a second time and go, maybe not such a good time right now because people are having an affordability issue, right? And what'll happen is there'll be a spotlight on rent control, and rent subsidies and those kinds of things.
But it will affect home buying for sure.
Oh, of course.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, of course, because people can't get mortgages without W-2 income. Like you and I both experience that. Neither of us take paychecks from our companies. However, and the banks don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah, they really don't. And, but it'll be interesting, with, because part of the real estate market going into 26 is obviously that demand. Rates have been better, so demand's going up. But if there is a high spike in unemployment, but I guess my question though is it depends on who's unemployed, right? Because if it's people that couldn't afford to buy homes anyways, like say it's a lower wage worker that home buying wasn't on their radar, then it's not going to affect it the same way as if, people that are making more money that are buying homes in the first place are losing their jobs.
Yeah, I think. Well, there's a couple things. One, I think this is going to be the year where AI is going to creep into the white collar,
Mhm.
right? And if you really want to rip the Band-Aid off, you can take a look at blue collar, like trades like plumbing, electrical. That in those industries are crushing it right now because obviously I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but the colleges preyed on the high schools. They looked at those kids as customers. They all went into school and they got into student debt. And then what happened was, but when I was growing up, my dad was a journeyman. He was in the sheet metal business, HVAC contractor, and there was a whole regiment system behind him. Right, he was as he was getting older, he was training younger guys. Well, that's gone. And so what you have is you have these trades, or these people are getting older and older and older, and there's nobody coming up behind them, but they're crushing it. Like, this is an industry I understand. I mean, I do understand the HVAC and the plumbing, electrical business. And, even one of our handymans, like we're up to $75, or even $100 an hour for people come to your house.
Mhm.
Right. And what, 4 or 5 years ago it was 30, 40.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. So why is that? It's because they can command that price. There's a shortage. So, so I think, back to your point of who can buy houses, that's a sneaky industry. That's the rising industry. White collar's in trouble. The middle, 2, 3, 4 layers of mid management, they're in trouble. What's going to continue to rise and what's going to be the star of this next decade are going to be the blue collars. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I totally
Yeah.
agree. I mean, I think that that's where all the money, because AI can't replace that, right?
No, no, that's the thing. Like,
And high level white collar too, because you're always going to need a human, or at least for a long time, a human to kind of,
yeah, but but
circumvent
I
what's
got to
going
tell
on.
you, like my friends that are in the law business, they're freaking out.
Yeah, legal is
Legals, like,
legal.
think about this, guys. Like, I got a term sheet. I think I may have mentioned this. I got a term sheet from a very big company, and I ran it through chat, and I said, how would you renegotiate this? And boom, before I would have sent that to my attorney, I would have waited for a response. I would have had a phone call. It would have been let's say a week, whatever. It was immediate, right? And now, granted, I still sent it to my attorney and said, "What do you think of this?" He got back to me. He's like, "These are really, really interesting, good points," and so we still discussed it. But the point is, we have friends that have sold their practices, and anything like wills, estates, PPMs, these kinds of businesses they're in trouble with chat, and because you can literally have documents created, insert your stuff, and then just have it reviewed. To your point,